Thanks for volunteering to help keep our southeastern Wisconsin communities safe and fair for everyone. Across Wisconsin and the Midwest, ICE civil actions have spread fear and hurt trust between residents and the local police. Our goal is simple. We want to keep local resources focused on safety, not civil immigration enforcement, while fully complying with the law, such as when there's a judicial warrant in a serious criminal case. This campaign asks each city and village to pass a local non-cooperation and community trust resolution. This resolution ends voluntary cooperation with ICE unless it's legally required, such as when there's a judicial warrant and a serious criminal case. It prohibits the use of city property, vehicles, or data systems for ICE civil operations. It protects resident privacy by limiting what information local departments can share. It requires public reporting of any federal requests so people know what's happening. It aligns with existing Milwaukee policies, and it creates greater consistency across cities throughout southeastern Wisconsin and other nearby communities. This could be used for many communities outside of the ones we're currently targeting. Our shared values are safety first, that we want local police focused on crime and not civil immigration. Rule of law, that we cooperate when legally required. Privacy, that residents' personal data stays protected. Local control, that cities decide how their resources are used, not federal agencies. And transparency, that the public deserves to know when federal requests happen. We appreciate your willingness to be a volunteer to get signatures. You'll have a packet that we've emailed out to you. It gives you an overview of some of the same information I'm talking through here today, so that you have this for reference for yourself. And then it has the actual petition itself here. And then it has a series of forms, one for each of the cities that we're targeting here. And the reality is that we're happy to do this in any community. So if we don't have a city that already has a form for it here, we have a sheet that is ready for you to fill in for any city. It's towards the end of the others here. So this, where you can fill in a city name. And the truth is, if you run out of the other city forms, we're set up to save folks time so that it had the city filled in here. But there's no reason that you couldn't use this form for any city. We're asking is that you only put a single city on one sheet so that we can easily organize the different signatures that we have. So please, only one city per sheet. So what you'll do when you are going up to folks and inviting their signature is that you'll ask them what city or village they live in. You'll find the right form. So when you're collecting signatures, here are some best practices to remember. Make sure that the name is clear and legible. So there's a spot for folks to print their name and then also to sign their name. So you want both. They'll fill in their address, street address, city, state zip, as well as the date. I am a U.S. citizen. This checkbox is optional, as it says right here. This is an optional checkbox. It helps us to demonstrate that many U.S. citizens support this resolution. The email and phone are optional. The email provides a way for us to follow up with updates about our progress. The phone, in the case that for some reason something wasn't legible or we needed to get a new signature, but those are not required. Make sure that no one signs the petition more than once. We only want one signature per person per city. We want to keep the form secure, so we recognize we have folks' personal information here, and we want to treat that with security and sensitivity. And we're asking for no photos of those sheets. You shouldn't be socially sharing that information or the only thing we should be doing with it is collecting the signatures, putting it in an envelope, and providing that back to our team that is collating those petitions. And if you want to know how to get that back to us, you can just email the safeandfairwi@gmail.com and we'll coordinate with you to get those forms back. Again, just to remember that for folks sharing their email information, we're not adding them to some list. That is just for us to communicate with updates about this campaign. We're aiming for 100 verified local signatures per city before we formally request to get on their city council or village board agenda. Your talking point should sound like you. Often when I'm walking up to someone, I'll say, did you hear about what happened in Palmyra? Because I think that makes a really helpful story just to start with and relate to. And to say, look, I'm concerned about what's happening here, and I want to make sure our city knows in advance how we feel about this, and that we want to ask our city to pass a resolution that keeps our resources focused on safety, not on civil immigration enforcement. It limits cooperation with ICE unless there's a judicial warrant and a serious criminal case, and bans using city property for ICE operations. Once we reach 100 signatures, we'll ask the city council or village board to discuss it. Try and keep it short, keep it friendly. If folks don't want to sign, there's certainly, you can thank them for your time. This isn't a pressure campaign. We're just trying to find folks who are interested in supporting this kind of an effort and getting their signature. You don't need to try and convince someone if they're not on board with this. So focus on the benefits, local safety. When our police departments, when our cities can focus more on our local needs, that we have more resources for our communities that need it. We want to focus on fairness. We want to focus on transparency. And just one thing that I think may be helpful to understand here is that the Milwaukee Police Department already has a policy that limits cooperation with ICE, but that's specific to the Milwaukee Police Department and the county jail, the Milwaukee County. It doesn't cover like other cities that are within Milwaukee County. And there are other aspects of this agreement, such as prohibiting ICE operations on city property and also not sharing data, other things that would be good for Milwaukee also to be incorporating into their policies around ICE. And so our goal is to expand and align standards across, so it's not just in one city that has a policy, but that we're covering multiple cities and communities, and we're building consensus around fair policies so that families can live without fear. What we have done is to clearly state this as our belief, like what our values, and to provide a template that we recognize is going to go through a legal review once it reaches the city. That they'll have their own team that's certainly going to review this before they would adopt it. In addition, we've modeled it after what we've seen work in other cities and areas that have implemented things like this. And in addition, we're clearly saying that we're not blocking ICE operations. We're saying that we should be doing what's legally required. But outside of what's legally required, we want to clarify that our local resources serve local priorities. Please collect signatures carefully, keep them secure, make sure every sheet is clearly labeled by city. If you have questions or need replacement forms, you can email safeandfairwi@gmail.com. Every signature you collect helps build a safer and fairer region, one where families can live without fear and where local government answers to the people who live here. Thank you.